time for a SquareSoft tier list ever for PlayStation 1. So, hello everybody, I really hope, let's meet you guys, so I can talk for hours about all the JRPG games, but especially of course SquareSoft, right? Because there's one company that really established PlayStation 1, it's SquareSoft, right? There's no other company that's very important for Sony, that's SquareSoft. Not Square Enix, SquareSoft, right, you know? Of course, we have Fantasy, whatever, right? But SquareSoft, they basically just did like 10 or 10 games all the time. I tell you, like Mana, Saga Frontier 2, right? Vagrant, Story, and so on. But of course, they also made, you know, Final Fantasy games or whatnot, right? But as you here, I want to go over just all the other games, right? And also, of course, Final Fantasy, and rank all of them. I'm going to review each and every SquareSoft game, and then also, of course, talk about which is better or worse. But it's basically more or less that. PlayStation 1, SquareSoft just did like 10 out of 10 games. Like every goddamn game was amazing. That being said, compare them to each other though, there will of course be a difference though, but they were all amazing. And that being said, if the video guys, please subscribe, like button. Of course I wanna love talking about Suikoden, what to have here, Wild Arms, or whatever, right? But I think we're gonna start with just doing SquareSoft, right? Because there's so many good games, just SquareSoft alone, but I would love to do like a JRPG, PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2 or whatever, right? But I think it's obviously SquareSoft, because again, SquareSoft really did establish like the whole genre popularity. That being said, you know, FF7 of course biggest one, but it's like seriously, without SquareSoft, JRPGs would barely sell at Japan, you know. Like all the games were amazing in those days. But of course, there's so many other good JRPGs, like Suikoden, which is my favorite ones, and I want to do this about later, right? Because what is not like doing this tier list, like I did with the FF tier list 3 years ago, because it gives me an option, right? But it gives me a way to kind of do like a quick review of all these games, right, in one video. I like doing that because I often see this question to me, and on the forums, people say, oh, but people often ask me, oh, but if I like FF7, okay, what else? What other game should I play, you know? Or if I like FF Rebirth then, right? Or whatever, if I like FF10, right? What other game should I play? And I am the JRPG expert, guys. I know all the JRPGs. And usually, people tell me, right, is that they have played, you know, Final Fantasy, right? They have played Fantasy, this is the Origins, 1 and 2, yeah. They know all about the FF games, right? So then usually I come and say, well, have you played this game? You can Overload, you know, whatever, right? Then I can come and say, well, this game is similar to FFT, you know, so on. So that's why I like doing that, because people I feel have a good grasp of the main titles, right, of Square, made by the companies, but rarely have they played the games like Saga Frontier 2, right, or maybe even haven't played Suikoden, right, and so on. So I like kind of coming in and say that this game is similar. And when I did my thesis about combat systems, perhaps most of games helping, right, I would a lot about, you know, comparison with the mechanics. So first and foremost, I'm a gameplay, you know, theorist, right? More so the storyline, because again, when people ask you like, oh, I want to play a similar game to X, it's not so much about the storyline, you know. Maybe, but for what people, they mean the gameplay, right? They mean the combat system, the mini games or whatever. Very few people actually care about the storyline. That don't mean it's not to be good or bad. I just mean that when I play a similar game, right, they don't mean like I want to have a similar storyline. FF8, you know, doesn't make any sense. Like, because you can have different games genres that have the same storyline or same storyline. But anyway, let's get to it. But you know, so many good games I love, right? Chrono Cross, Mission 3. So I'm surprised you guys here. I think so. I hope so. List with some of the best games. That being said, this list here now around me, right, is like all the SquareSoft games for the Square Enix on the tier list. We only gonna do PlayStation 1 in this video, right? Maybe do Super Nintendo another video, but there's on PlayStation 1 in this video here then. So we're not gonna do all of them, but we do like this, like half of them, basically, in this list. Well, that being said, I think we can skip over like this one. It's like a, you know, 1 and 2, but I mean, like I have it here, right? I mentioned earlier. I have this like the remake of 1 and 2, right? I don't feel that's really interesting to do. But anyway, so let's start with the easier ones. And I made a video, like I mentioned, like 2 weeks ago, about all the FF games. So I already have kind of ordered the FF games, right? But let's just start there with the most classic trio. And again, right, everything was like gold for SquareSoft at PlayStation 1. This is when it became rich and famous, basically, right? But we take FF7, put it in S tier, legendary game, of course. Take FF9, S tier, Life 9. And then FF8 in like C tier. And I hate FF8, okay? Shit game, no. But seriously, I don't hate FF8, but it's something like C or B, right? And I think about this. I mean, I made a long video about it a few years ago, but I'm thinking about it again, and I think that the fundamental flaw with FF8, right, why it's so far below the other games, simply because of the draw system, right? It's a terrible system. It is terrible. So if you haven't played a game in FF8, you have to like pull magic after all the enemies, right? And actually, I like it when you have the magic, so you can put like fire and you get like fire sword or death. If you have the death, you hit insta kill or attacks one. So it's awesome when you have all the magic. But before that, you have to do like 20 times per character to draw like 5 death on the boss, right? So basically, you go to the boss, and you have to stand there for like 2 hours, like draw, heal, draw, heal. F8's combat system is terrible. From that, the whole system itself, how to get the draw magic. And it ruins the gameplay like massively. It is a really shit system. Arguably the worst combat system of all FF games. But actually, it's a pretty good system when you actually have the magic. And I like how in FF8 you can like, you have attack and so on, but you give the other characters other abilities. So that you can remove items on a character, and instead Irvine can have like, oh, my shot ability, or this thing or whatever. So it's like, it actually has a pretty good combat system, but you actually have all the items, and you have maximized the magic and so on. But to get to that point, it is arguably the worst system of all of the games. Because the draw system is really, really terrible. Like, it ruins the whole game, seriously. Otherwise, great card game and storylines and so on, but the draw system is so bad. And then this also has too, like, I don't like that the game is, what's it called? The levels are your level, right? The enemies are your level. You can become level 100 like an hour in that game. But the enemies are also level 100, so it doesn't really matter. The bosses aren't though, but it's a weird thing. There's some other weird stuff. Chocobo part was bad in the game. There's some weird flaws with the FF8, okay? Especially the draw system. Now then, I don't think I will spend too much time here on 7 and 9, honestly, right? These are the two most famous games, I would say, from Square Enix, and most recognized as the top tier games, right? So, yeah, you know, obviously, FF7, an amazing game. Everyone loves it, right? What can I say more without being too much here? Rebirth is launched, right? But yeah, 7 is like the classic king of the PlayStation 1, right? Great storyline, great characters, good combat system, you know, all that stuff right now. It has all things. I think 9 is like a very popular game around. Yeah, FF9 is very popular among, I think, veteran fans to play all of them. Because 9 was, and I think 9 used from its freshness to it, was such a much better game than 8, right? Because 8 tried to make everyone just look like normal humans, and then 9 went back to like an old school. Oh, you have this like weird magic guy and this guy and so on. Yeah, like it felt more like 7 again. You have some, you know, monster team and so on. But 9 just felt, everything in 9 is so much better than 8. It's the characterization, how they look, the likable and so on, weird stuff, characters. I don't know. It's 9 has like everything like that. I think it's a better storyline than 8. Better world building, like better lore, everything. So yeah, 9 is a really good game. It's a much better game, and I think that almost everyone, except a few 8 fans, right? Basically, I think almost everyone I talk to do want to see 9 being remade after 7, right? No, I don't want 9 to be remade if I have to pick, though, honestly. But let's start like this. I actually might put them down later, though. But let's not like this, right? This is kind of the difference I feel, because the 8 to 9 here. Actually, I think I'm gonna be harsher here than I was in FF list, because now I'm gonna compare it to the other games that aren't FF games. So they actually might go down a bit. It's be interesting now that we go to the other non-FF games. The FFT is possible, but well, okay, fine. FFT is also okay. FFT is going up here, and I would say it's a better game than 9 in my opinion. Maybe even than 7. It is like the Ogre Battle, Yasuma Matsuno, right? FFT is a very, very good game. It's an amazing game, really, and I think that what FFT does so well too is that, like in similar other title games, we have several units and so on, right? FFT takes the job system from FF3 and 5 and combine it into like a really interesting system. Here you have several characters, you combine the different jobs and so on. It really makes it really, really good, right? And then FFT A and 2 and so on, it makes it even better. But basically here's how you started that, right? And I feel other games after this kind of copy this system, how to actually have a more interesting unit system combination one. So, but I love Fire Emblem, right? Fire Emblem is a great game, but this is still much better. straight up, yeah, like how you actually combine the characters, right? Fire Emblem perhaps has better graphics now and so on, whatever, but I mean, it's a pure like strategic aspect. This game has to have a better system, leveling and class, job combinations and so on, right? That other games still lack, right? So it's really, really, really good gameplay. But now in the list, I'm gonna get way harsh, honestly, I feel, because that's what kind of like a Final Fantasy pre-start, right? Now we're gonna compare Fantasy to the actual other games on the PlayStation 1, for example, Sega 2, right? And actually, that's a better game than most of them, right? So now it's gonna get harsh here, because I feel like this is like rough now, right? Because it's like ST and so on. But I think to be fair, we have to kind of make them distinguish here, right? So let's start with Saga Frontier 2 then, which is an amazing game. And there it is. So this game here, I would say is almost better than FF7. So this is like here somewhere, okay? I have the game here. This is like one of the greatest game ever that no one's ever played. Saga Frontier 2. And I probably would say I even like it more than FF7, honestly. I think it's a better game than FF7 too. So, Saga Frontier 2, short review here then. It's a game that spans 60 years, okay, in the game world. That's one thing. You play as your grandkids, okay? But this has like the best storytelling, I think, of all the games they made. This probably has the best storyline and best lore of all the SquareSoft games, PlayStation 1. So basically, you start as Gustave or Will, and then you play as their grandkids basically. So you start in the game, you get new kids and so on. And big spoilers then. This is a massive for this game, right? The main character dies, okay, pretty early in the game, and then instead you have to take over as his friend, and then you play as his friend's grandkid later in the game. So like that kind of stuff makes the storyline amazing. People talk about Eric dying. What about if Cloud died after 10 hours in the game? Yeah, that would be big, right? So every character died in this game. It's incredibly hard. That's one thing. This is like the hardest game they ever made. This one is so hard. The last boss is absurdly hard, but that's one thing. It's interesting combo system, 3 different combo systems. The storyline was put down to earth in a way. You have different options how to play the characters, chapters, 2 different main characters, and you can swap characters, and you can build orders. It's a fantastic game. And the combo system, I think, is better than FF7 and FF9 has, a turn-based system. You combine different abilities, and the character improves your skills by just using them a lot. And you can't grind either in the game instead of abusing stuff. So it's a really, really weird game. But honestly, it is a better game. It is a better game than FF7. It's probably, sure, it lacks the graphics. It lacks the graphics, right? It lacks the graphics. It doesn't have the cutscenes. It doesn't have the epic Sephiroth scenes or whatever. But from a pure like gameplay standpoint and just story, I think it's a better game. I think it's a better game than That's a true S tier, man. And if you go further down then, and now we're gonna have some other hard game here. Front Mission 3, okay. This is another S tier game. My god, this game here, Front Mission, baby. Oof. This is another S tier. This is the hidden S tier of SquareSoft, okay? I think I have it somewhere here, hopefully. I mean, it has to be. Whatever, it's over here in my collection. Front Mission 3, guys. Better Fight 3. Front Mission 3 is an amazing game, okay? So you have Frontier. Okay, the thing is that Vagrant story, right? Let's just put up the S tier. The secret S tier of... this is the secret S tier now of Square Enix. Vagrant story, Xenogears. Okay, this is like the S tier that no one ever played. Yeah, these are like the S tier games to PlayStation 1 that no one ever heard about. Thing is that Vagrant Story though, at least, so okay, let's talk about it seriously. So Vagrant Story is a game though that is incredibly great, and I feel everyone kind of knows about it though, okay, seriously. Vagrant Story is a bad game people didn't know about. Yasubi Matsuno, same people in FF12, FF10 and so on. But these 3 games, Xenogears, you hear people have played, right? Definitely still rarer, but people have played it, also S tier game. But these 2 games, Front Mission 3, 7.2, no one's ever played them. But seriously, they're all S tier, okay? They're all S tier. Now maybe I was in the better FF7 necessarily, but they're better than this. And I probably honestly put like this is like on my list, right? Like Saga Frontier 2, I think it's the best game they ever made, PlayStation 1. Followed by Vagrant Story, then maybe FF7, and then it's like Front Mission 3, then it's Xenogears, and then FC, then FF9. So this is like the much more realistic. It is really, really funny, because seriously, I mean, these games that no one ever played are better than the FF games, okay? So let's quickly review that. Forbidden 3 is like a much more realistic game. It's on Earth, you play Vast or whatever. But this game is so good, okay? It's an amazing game with 2 different storylines. You can replay the whole game. It's really well written. It's a great gameplay, technical system of it. And it has one of the more like authentic storylines with like warfare in China and America as well. It's like really realistic, this game. It has amazing storyline, characterization and so on. It is really good. Like, it's fantastic. I want to spoil too much that. Xenogears has one of the greatest game storylines ever, okay? If there's one game that's cryptic, it's Xenogears, okay? So it's an amazing storyline about, you have like 4 lines. It's hard to not spoil it, but you're basically Adam and Eve, and it's an amazing storyline. So if you talk about purely storyline here, purely storyline of all the SquareSoft games, and actually of all JRPG games, especially the one, then Xenogears has the best storyline. This is easily the best storyline of all the JRPG games, especially one. Arguably, I would probably go so far to say Xenogears probably has the best storyline of every roleplay game ever. And actually, this 2 is completely cutting away gameplay, and it's just a novel of text, right? So if it's any game, you get a remake, that's Xenogears. It is an amazing storyline game. It's such an incredible fucking game world, and Lord's amazing. What is down though is probably the combat system, which actually is kind of like Chrono Cross, but not as good. So that's probably actually what is weakest. But great characterization, likable characters, and a lot of evil guys. So yeah, pure story aspect, it will easily win. It's an amazing game, truly. But they kind of run out of budget. And then of course these guys made Xenogears Blade and Xenogears Chronicles and one afterwards. But yeah, I would say that storyline makes it S tier or S++ tier. The combat system is actually again the weakest part. So if I purely look at the combat system, I probably put it in B or something, because the combat system is one of the worst, if not the worst, of the SquareSoft games. Submission 1 probably. That's what it really lacks. But Submission 3 has a better combat system than 15, like straight up. Like, it's a much better system. The same genre, tactical role playing game, but it's a better system. It's a much better actually. And Submission 4 is even better. Like, what it lacks is the job system, right? But you have the vast set. And for Mission 4, which is the two of them, is even better. Then you have the link system. You can link characters and so on, which later game uses, like a Chrono Cross will come later. But for its time, I think for Mission 4 was the first game to have link systems. So that game is even better. Purely gameplay master is amazing. Worse storyline though than Trigger, but gameplay wise amazing. But it's probably something like this, something like this probably. Like that's the actual list there. I think actually FF7 is probably hammered by its combat system, if anything. Because Vagrant Story has an amazing combat system, okay? It's fantastic. The risk system, we get combos going. It's such a fun game to play. You can kill a boss immediately in one combo if you keep going. So it has an amazing combat system. So yeah, Vagrant Story probably has the best combat system of all these games. For Mission 3 maybe, yes. But like of the single player character, of the non-detective games. But anyway, let's keep going. But you can hear where I'm coming from here. It is that's the S tier. That's the S tier game basically. Now I have played all of these games seriously. I think I literally played all these games. Pretty sure on it. But a game that isn't as good as Vagrant Story, but is quite similar, is Parasite Eve, and that's the first game. So Parasite Eve is actually kind of funny because Parasite Eve, yet another game that no one ever played, I feel, and it's very similar to Vagrant Story, like I said, if it combat system wise. It's probably the game with the most similar combat system. So Vagrant Story and Parasite Eve then, you basically attack your enemy, and when you freeze, you press a button, it's pseudo real time, right? So it's real time until you attack, and then you can pick a body part. So in Vagrant Story, a crossbow, you shoot them in the leg or arm or whatever, right? And Eve uses a gun instead, so kind of the same thing. So it's actually probably the most similar game. We have this body part system, with like a sphere is around you. For me, it's a bit similar to that matter. But yeah, so as is quite similar to Vagrant Story, and also how it presents itself. You have the single player character, perceived as like a horror game in real time. It's a really interesting game, and I wish that SquareSoft or Enix today would do more games like Parasite Eve, because it is a really good game for its time. It's quite special. Like I said, the combat system isn't unique. It's like a worse Vagrant Story combat system, but still, it's like only those two games, and also of course the sequel, Parasite Eve 2 then, which is a weaker game than the first game. It is straight up a worse game, I would say. So I put it in B tier. It's like it's very very similar, but it's just straight up worse, like a worse storyline. It's just like a worse game. It improves a little bit the combat system, right? But it's basically like a worse game. But all of the 3 games, they have a very unique combat system, and that should be used more. And as a side note, I mean, I don't know. I think it's special or weird, or what you call it, that Square Enix never does like an Eve game or something similar again, because I mean they would kind of be similar to Persona, you know what I mean? Like it's more real time, or maybe Yakuza, like a Dragon. Yeah, it would be more similar to like it's kind of like a Resident Evil role-playing game or something. So I think it would sell great. I think that would be a great game for them to do, because they're very, very much hammered in now to like fantasy, right? You know, like I mean medieval fantasy, yeah, like, and less sci-fi too for that matter. But yeah, this Parasite Eve was special because it was like the real time, right? Basically Resident Evil Final Fantasy. Something like that. but it's more Resident Evil like a story than anything. But yeah, but it's like Resident Evil with Final Fantasy elements. Something like that. But it's a great game. Both of them are good games. But yeah, it's not as good as like American Story, but it's quite similar. So that's probably fair to put it there. Now, for Mission 2, so everything in the game is worse. Worse strategy, worse storyline. So I think it's like B tier. It's like maybe even C tier. But it's just like the third game is like the perfect front mission game with storyline and everything. This is like, yeah, it's just kind of worse. So, but otherwise, it's exact same elements. You have a turn-based character, you put advanced on. I mean, I played the first game to SNES, right? Yeah, and I have all 5 of them, so it's like the same. They're all the same, you know. Just the 5th game has more mechanics, but in that sense. But I think it's like a worse game. Now, let's say it's a controversial game, or is it Legend of Mana? This game is terrible, man. So Legend of Mana, I have it here next to me. Here it is. Very expensive game, right? Super expensive. Legend of Mana is one of my most disappointing. This literally could be the most disappointing game I ever bought in my life. Let me put on the music for it. Domina, the best part of it, the music. This is the best part of the game. Do 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 do. My most disappointing game ever. Seriously, probably, because this game isn't the worst game ever, Legend of Mana, which is the 4th Seiken game. Say it's a 4, but having played Seiken 3 like 10 times over, right? Seiken 3 is my favorite SNES game of all time. And then I finally got a copy of this game, because it was never released. I'm from Sweden, right? It was never released in my home country. I imported it from America. Finally got Legend of Mana a few years after the game was released. I played it maybe 5 years after it came out, right? Finally got it, and I was like, man, it's a shit. It's so much worse, okay? There's no storyline. The game is just that you have an open world thing where you build your world around you, which looks cool on paper, but it's terrible because there's no storyline, okay? It's a kind of open world BS. I want a line in the storyline, like my old Mana games, basically. And the party member is constantly swapped, okay? And they have a robot, and it's a horrible game. This is right. It's such a terrible game. It's like almost trashed here. But the thing is that Legend of Mana has some good qualities. So while the second character is like the current quest character, okay, which is really annoying, the third character is a golem or a monster. And that's something that 13.2 did later or so on. So it's like a Pokemon kind of thing. And that was great, okay? That part is great. So you have your monster farm, or you have your golem factory. You can make a really cool like ally in your party. So that was really great. You basically craft your own ally, and that has some really cool effects to it. That was great. But the second player character was terrible. So you're playing as your main character, like no story whatsoever. And then the other character is one of the many like side quest dudes. And they stay in your party until you do the side quest, basically. And there is kind of random characters. So if you play with your friend, play with one of my best friends throughout the whole game, he has to keep swapping characters constantly. So we were like, what? So instead you have to like, okay, we pick up this guy that you like playing, and then we do all the other main quests, and then we do side quests. You can stay in the party. It's a really dumb system. And then the character you are playing as a main character, it's just a random nobody. So you can pick your gender and so on, but you can't really look. And you have like no personality. Yeah, it's just so bad, man. It went from the best stats of all time to a very mediocre mid game. I just hate this game. It's disappointing, and it honestly is almost mid tier, man. And also, yeah, also it's a pretty bad game, seriously. Because for example, one thing, when you play the other Mana games, right? Your friend can run around in the party and pick up loot or whatever, open chests and so on, right? But in this game, I hated that because me and my best friend then, he also played the core Seika with me sometimes, you know, beat Seika several times, yeah, together. In this game instead, he can't control his character until I enter a fight. So again, in Seiken and Secret of Mana, right, both the 2 and 3, you as a, you know, if you play party members, you can run around, you know, you can do all the stuff and so on, yeah. But in this game, you can only control the character when you're fighting, right? So that kind of removes that multiplayer feel too. It's like, yeah, we're playing multiplayer, but you're not allowed to move until I fight a dragon. Then you can run around the dragon a bit. So it's just, oh god, it's so stupid. Like, it's so stupid. And of course, the re-release, the remake of the third game, Present Mana, also really dumb. It's multiplayer. It's so stupid. And they were like, oh, people, oh my god, it's so bad. Otherwise, it's a great game, but the removed multiplayer from it was so stupid. Incredibly dumb. Of course, the graphics are 3D now, so on, yeah, sure, but still, it's just terrible. But yeah, I hate Legend of Mana. I've been debating it, but I'm disappointed in it. It was a hard. It hurt me, man. That's like, I would say that's the biggest failure they had. Let's go on, but I hate it so much. That's kind of an emotional rant here. It got it out of me. But seriously, Legend of Mana, I hated it. It was a terrible sequel. It was just like the worst sequel. Here's a good sequel though, Chrono Cross, okay? Great sequel. I put it up in A tier. I don't think it is as S tier. I don't think it is like the game. It is not, I mean, one thing though, with Chrono Cross, right? With beautiful kid and so on. One thing with Chrono Cross is that, I mean, it follows Chrono Trigger. I have to be fair in that. It follows Chrono Trigger, and Chrono Trigger is like the best game of all time, you know. Chrono Trigger is like a 11 out of 10. Like, oh my god, this game is also like uber good game. I still think second's better, whatever. I digress, but I think, you know, it's yet another like 10 out of 10, whatever, super game, right? And Chrono Cross is not perfect. It has some issues. So it certainly felt a little bit like that. That is hard almost to judge this game. Because again, right, it really does follow, for many people, the favorite game of all time, right? So I think people are harsher on Chrono Cross than they have to be. Like, it's not that bad, guys. It's not that bad. It's not trash, guys, okay? It's not trash. But certainly it's not as good as, like, Vagrant story or Xenogears. The storyline isn't that strong. You have alternative worlds instead of time traveling. That already wasn't as smart of them, because it was more interesting in Trigger. You had several different timelines, right? So you have more than 2. With Cross, you only have 2 different, it's like, you know, mirror worlds, right? So that kind of limits the different altercations or different, like, diversions or whatever. They have, I was never like a big fan of the combat system, you know, with the more elemental things and so on. It definitely kind of unique, but like I said, I think that I would argue that Xenogears is probably the closest one to it, as I mentioned earlier. And I said Xenogears has a pretty bad combat system, comparable to other games. And Chrono Cross is better, but it's not as good, you know. So I feel like that's like a limitation of it too. It certainly has a Suikoden feel to it. We have so many characters to unlock though. That's a great part of it, yeah. So many characters to unlock. And that was better than Trigger, right? Because you have, instead of getting like new armors or whatnot, new cool items, because you time travel and so on, you instead find more and more characters. Now you want to use them all in your party, but like in Suikoden, it's cool to pick up new characters and play with them a bit and so on. So it does that really well. So the strength of Cross certainly is huge, you know, part of characters, and basically like a side quest to get all the characters. It's like Suikoden or like Radia History or Radia Stories or whatever. They also have to like pick up other characters. So it does that really well. But I think it's a little bit like, I think A tier is like where it is. You know, I think A tier, yeah. It's not S tier. I think it's S, yeah. Okay, I think the other way here. Saga Frontier 1. This is just like a worse. Saga Frontier 2 is an amazing game and top tier, but Saga 1 is like, yeah, it just kind of has the typical romancing saga. You play different characters. It's more similar to the previous games of Sega. Storyline is way worse and so on. So it just feels like, nah, it's okay. It's like, it's playable. I think it's better than Mana though. I think it generally is better than Mana. I do feel F8. Honestly, when I look at the list right now, I feel I'm too harsh on F8 now, because I'm like, you know, but I think F8 is like 1 tier higher But honestly, I think 8 is like a higher tier than Frontier, but it probably isn't as good as Parasite Eve 2. So I feel like I need to put 8 now in like a middle tier there. So yeah, but it's somewhere there. But basically, Saga Frontier 1 is just like a worse Saga Frontier 2 in every regard, with a worse storyline and yeah, a worse combat system, and graphic art is worse as well, and worse music. But it's like a decent game. But I think that in the PlayStation 1 Saga games, they're kind of moving away from the previous romantic style, right? It's a little more line, you know, a little less 8 character wise. Because in the old ones, it's more by Traveler when you have 8 characters or more, right? In many songs, so you can find down here, for example, in this game, you have, all the characters here, so you have 8 characters, so it's a little more streamlined, but it wasn't as much. And then the second game kind of did better. So yeah, this is like the start of their new ideas, and this is kind of when they perfected that. So I think it's kind of natural. Okay, it's like the trash game. Okay, this is the only real trash game. Ergish, I've played competitive. So the only real trash game of SquareSoft, probably I would say. The only real trash game they had to PlayStation 1 is this fighting game. They also have Tobal as one on as well, but Ergish is like a pretty bad game. I think it's just sort of a bad game. It's a fighting game where you have Cloud and Sephiroth in it, something like that. But it's still like a good fighting game, you know. You know, I also play a lot of fighting games, you know, Street Fighter and whatnot, right? Blast Bro is the one. But this is just a bad fighting game. Like, it's not a good fighting game. And I think that Tobal 1 and 2, likewise, are, you know, they're also pretty bad. I mean, I would probably put them in the trash, but they're all kind of bad. They have this like weird. Someone wants to publish them, and you can see it's almost like Akira Toriyama for the first one here. But they're basically also like they're more beat them up though. Okay, people usually forget the fighting was beat them up, you know. So these games are more beat them up style, right? And there's a little more forgiving at the fighting games. Ergish, I feel, is really bad because it's trying to be Street Fighter, right? With Tobal, I guess it's Final Fight more, if that makes sense. but basically, right? And there's some RPG elements and whatnot. But it kind of like, they weren't really good. They weren't good for the time either. And I don't think they were good for I don't think they were very good for the time either, you know. And Ergish, then again, is like a worse Street Fighter or whatnot. It's a worse Tekken or whatever. Yeah, it was never really a good fighting game. Of course, they did that later. But FFD actually did that when they was out. I actually kind of liked that. It wasn't like amazing, but I mean, Ergish is a weird game, right? Because basically it's like a bad fighting game where they threw in Cloud to be a character in, basically, right? And that was the only selling point of it, and it's not like a very good game. With FFD, they designed like the combat system around playing these magical characters like Cloud and Lightning and so on. So you can fly, you can do limb breaks, you can throw fireballs and punch people. It's more like that. But Ergish is like, it's like a really bad fighting game with humans plus Cloud Sephiroth, basically. It doesn't make any sense, right? You know, and it just plays poorly. And like I said, Tobal is they made those games. It's kind of similar, but it's a little more forgiving because of the. Then we have Brave Fancy Musashi, that I think is done here for some reason. There's the following letter order, so it should be up here, I think. Brave Fancy, but whatever. This is not a great game, but it's not S tier, okay? So Brave Fancy Musashi is one of those games that I feel very few has played, but it's a pretty good game with an action RPG instead. So it's more hack and slash, we call it, right? But I think it's a pretty good game. But would I put it up in like the S tier? No, I wouldn't. I think it's probably like here. It's probably better for Mission 2, but I don't think I feel it's as good as like Chrono Cross, right? And I don't think Chrono Cross is on the level of like a regular story. Right, so I think it's like B tier is where I've put Breakfast potentially. But basically, I guess you compare it to like Man or whatever. Yeah, it's like an action, RPG, right? So you have it's like Musashi like sword guys. You take a slash, then you get RPG elements. You can improve your stuff and so on. So it's a pretty good game. But it was, I never felt it was like amazing. I never felt it was like wow. I was like, nah, it's pretty good. Another similar game to Brave Fantasy is Threads of Fate. PlayStation 1. It's definitely a game even less people have played. So, but I think it's pretty fair to say that this game is just a worse Brave Fantasy Musashi. So, Threads of Fate is also like an action RPG. It's made, same people did Xenogears, but it's like a light. They wanted to make a game that is light-hearted, I guess, like a better word, and less dark and grim, more fun. Sort of But basically, it's like I said, I think it's like a pretty bad hack and slash game, right? With again RPG elements or whatever, and it plays worse than the Mana games or whatever. But actually, honestly, I guess I would argue Legend of Mana is a better game than this thing, though. I used to really hate Legend of Mana. I used to really hate Legend of Mana. I just hate it so much that I put it in the bottom. I put it in trash cans later on when I done with this list because I hate it. But maybe I would actually put Legend of Mana being better than that game. But they're kind of like similar veins, but I still think this is fair. Honestly, this is kind of what I think the most. I think it's just a Fate is like a worse basis of Musashi, which is probably what is the most similar to of the SquareSoft games. But there are other action RPGs. So now then we have this really weird horror game, okay? This I have played this game seriously. This is like a terrible game where you it was they did this, they always try to do like weird live action games, right? Where you have like real action cutscenes or what. But honestly, I mean from an idea standpoint, this game basically is like, oh, they have these games now, right? The horror games, the quarries, whatever. It's like like the light novel kind of game, you interact, whatever. So, from a theoretical standpoint, this game makes sense, right? But for PlayStation 1, it was way too early. This was like 15 years too early. And I don't think that Square Enix or Microsoft ever did. They have 2 of these games, yeah, I know. But except these 2 games, I don't think they ever did this kind of genre again. Because they failed miserably, right? But I think that, from a theoretical standpoint, this game makes sense. It does. The technology wasn't there, right? So, but again, it is a terrible game. It's a trash game. Jesus Christ! I can't remember. They just have an English title for it, but it's like Horror Mansion something. I don't know in English. But it's like whatever. I don't care. Now, lastly, I do believe you have Chocobo Dungeon, which you play a little Chocobo, and it's not a very good game. This is Chocobo Racing, okay. Yeah. Chocobo Racing is pretty good though, okay, seriously, it's a pretty good game. I'll put it up here probably. Chocobo Racing is pretty good. Chocobo Dungeon is like a, worse. So honestly, probably pretty mid, seriously. I don't know, isn't that good? It's like a word for fantasy. It's like a dungeon crawling, it's called. Yeah, it's not very impressive, honestly. It really isn't. And he's the first game then. But I mean, yeah, they're not like, there's so many of them too. I don't even know which one is the one now. I think this is the first one. I think like that. But I mean, they're not that good. They're each kind of like, they're pretty funny, but they're not like amazing. Yeah, I think they're pretty C tier. I don't think they're mid. I think they're better than mid. But there's somewhere here, I feel. Then racing actually is pretty funny. So racing is like just Mario Kart, And I have it. It's pretty fun, It's kind of weird. Chocobo is like a kart instead of running, But basically, it's a Mario Kart clone, right? Like Crash Bandicoot Racing or whatever. And I don't know. I have a weak spot for Diddy Racing, Biker Mice for Mosh or whatever. I think it's pretty fun, I don't think it's the best game ever. It's an S tier, right? But it's somewhere here in the B tier where actually I play a lot with my friends. It's quite enjoyable, but it's not as good as Mario Kart. But for me, I have this game, I have, as I mentioned, Crash Bandicoot and so on. And I think that these games are pretty funny because, who doesn't love Mario Kart, right? But sometimes you're like, well, these other kart games are funnier in some other aspects. And it's one of those games where you play Mario Kart, right? You have your friends come over, you play Mario Kart for like an hour or two, maybe 3 hours. Then you they swap to this game and play for an hour. It's that kind of game. It's not as good as Mario Kart, but it's fun to play it as well, right? So definitely played a lot when it was out there. But like I said, I feel I have a sweet spot for this. Like I do really love this kart. I love this game. Yeah, I love Diddy Racing. Like, oh my god, but Diddy Racing is S tier though. Diddy Racing is S tier. But I have a sweet spot for go kart racing action kind of games, definitely. But also I have to argue though. I think it's like go-kart games, right? They don't have to have, they don't have to have storylines or whatever. Yeah, they just have to be fun, good gameplay, right? It's easier to kind of say, yeah, it's a pretty good game, yeah. It's a pretty good game, definitely. But it's not, it's not the best go-kart games. I think like B tier is like fair. I think it's all of them. Now, I was playing the harsh Ergish, which is a bad fighting game, right? But Bushido Blade, though, is actually pretty good. So this is Bushido Blade 1, this is 2. I have to admit I didn't recognize this first. So this one is the same art in other outside Japan. This has an other art. But yeah, so Bushido Blade is pretty good though. I'm gonna pull up some here. It's pretty solid. I would say that the second game is a better game, straight up. But they're kind of similar. There's not like massive difference between the games. So Bushido Blade, I don't think it's a fighting game, right? It's a much better than Ergish. But how would I explain it? It's basically a fighting game where you die from anything, right? It's like a fighting game that I feel reminds you of like Kendo, the sport, right? Where it's like, you do one mistake and they cut you immediately. So it is a pretty cool fighting game, and but it still feels quite different, right? Than like Street Fighter or Tekken or whatever. You don't really have the same kind of life or health or so on, so it definitely plays quite differently. But it is a pretty good game, actually. If anything, I think today Bushido Blade 1 and 2, then whatever, something like that, it actually sticks out to fighting game, right? Because it has a different gameplay mechanics than other fighting game usually has these days. So this is definitely a classic. I don't think it's like I don't think it's very good. It's not perfectly balanced or whatever, but it has a different feel to it. We've said with Ergish that, right? All the fighting game they made, it's just like a rip-off of Tekken or whatever. It's a worse version of it. But this game here is it's a game to play seriously. That being said, I mean, again, I think B tier is fair because it's unique, but it's not polished. You know what I mean? Like if they made Bushido Blade 3, 4, 5, whatever, we might have like a really nice polished, like a dual fighting game on Bushido Blade 10 or whatever. Right? But like 1 and 2 were like, they were good. They're quite novel, again, quite unique, right? But it has a lot of polish issues. So it's fun to play every now and then because it's very, very different. And like I said, I can still go back to play today and be like, oh yeah, it's like different than other fighting games. And here we have a racing game. Seriously, yeah. Bahama Racing. This is pretty decent too. I'm gonna put this over here. So this game isn't super terrible. It's like a racing game, but you also have RPG elements and story and quests and so on. So you have, it's like you upgrade your car, right? You get XP points and so on. it's a kind of like weird, like we take Final Fantasy plus car racing, and that's something. Yeah, it's Bahamut Racing. Yeah, it's Racing Lagoon. Yeah, it's a different game. But it's not like AT, it's like Chrono Cross, it's not super tier. But I think it's probably honestly, man, I feel I'm really harsh on 8 now. But I do think 8 is so much worse than other games. Because the draw system really ruins it. But of course it has a better storyline than these games. Ooh, it feels harsh now, man. But I think that like Parasite Eve 2 is a better game than F8, like straight up. It absolutely is. I think it is, absolutely. I feel I'm harsh in this game now, man. I don't know. Legend of Mana is probably better than this game. Legend of Mana is trash because I hate it. I keep saying I hate it so much. Then we got Einhänder. So this is like a hand, right? Händer, hand in German. It's not a very good game. It's like a smup game, but it's not a very good smup game. So smup, right? Shoot 'em up, you know. Games like Toho, R-Type, Gradius, right? And that's what this game. You fly as a spaceship and shoot stuff. But it's not very good. It's not very good, honestly. I think that genre is a classic arcade genre, right? And I played a lot. My friend is a uber good tour player. He's like the best player in the world in tour. Like seriously, he won tournaments tour, so yeah, he's super good. But this is just like a worse smoke, right? You know, it's not a Kurga and so on. No, it's just like So I think it's almost trash taste. It's almost trash taste. It's like mid. Yeah, it's like, okay, it's smooth. It's kind of like Tobal. I mean, it's playable, but it's not better than any other smup game that I was arguing for. So I think it'd be fair to put it there, mid. So that is the list, guys. This only lacks one game, I think, which is Cyberorg, which is like a game where it's not a smup then, but you basically play a character with like an auto aim and you're running around. It's a really bad 3D game. No one ever heard about it, but it would be like trash or B tier. But let's go over this again. I'm probably gonna be the harsh enough because I do feel there's too many S tier games. I don't know, but I also want to have a listed here, right? I do find FF9 better than Chrono Cross though. It does feel like I almost need my own super S tier. Yeah, I feel like I need a double S tier. I feel like I need like the SS of S tiers. But I think that Xenogears, this is hard now. Okay, so is the best game to PlayStation 1? I think so. From a storyline aspect, this is the best game. This has like of the complicated storylines, Xenogears is by far the best one. You know, if you like FF7 for like the Gaia and so on, and Sephiroth or whatever, this is a better game. this is a better game from storyline, definitely, like that, from a story aspect. But if you want it from like a more personal storyline, you know, from like a more, you know, this is like the heart, right? This is the best game. This is the best game storyline. So I think Saga Frontier 2 wins from like a storyline aspect and has a better combat system than most of these games. Vagrant story though, I think probably has the best combat system of all the. Yeah, I think Vagrant story probably has the best combat system of all the PlayStation games. It's like an amazing combat system. So it's somewhere up here. But this is like for me, like straight up. These two are like my two top SquareSoft games, like straight up of this lineage. Yeah, 100%. Xenogears, I think, really do fall to mention on its combat system, which is meh. And also then the second disc is like meh. So it's like other budget game, right? This just a remake the most probably. So I think it's better. For me, it's really good. I think for me, it was a better game, honestly. So again, better storyline, but they have a much better gameplay. Yeah, the actual core gameplay, Mission 3, is so good. It's like one of the best combat systems to PlayStation 1, if not the best. From a tactical game, right? From a tactical role-playing game, it's probably the best in this genre. I would say it's much better FT actually. FT has a better like character development system, but the actual strategy aspect Mission is better. So it's like up there somewhere. But this is probably the definite list I feel. FF9 I do feel weaker than this game, and Xenogears storyline and its characters is amazing. So this is like the true list I feel. Chrono Cross also really get up there. Parasite Eve, Then we get down here, right? Parasite Eve 2 is, yeah, it's like one less than, but I think it's fair, okay? I think it's fair. I think probably put Chocobo. Brave versus Musashi. I think it's really interesting though. Nah, it's something like this probably. We get down here. I really hate FF8 or something like that. No, but I really hate the draw system. My god, it's terrible, okay? It ruins the whole game. Like, if you think about what it ruins the game. And like enough mana, he's just enough mana is disappointing like hell. But to be fair, it's probably better than these two games though. It is better, but it's like I don't wanna. I want to trash it. I hate it so much. I'm trying to be professional here. Okay, I guess not trash it, but it's like it really is like a 6 out of 10 game. Yeah, it's like, but it's just like, you know, coming from a 10 out of 10 game, right? But again, Chrono Cross at least this is definitely this guy, but Chrono Cross is like a 9 out of 10, right? Chrono Cross is 10 out of 10, so it's fair. But you get like a man and you're like, fuck this game. You know, like, this is like 0 out of 10, but it's more like a 6 out of 10. It's not trash here, like freaking Another Mind, okay? This game is like unplayable. So I have to be fast. Okay, fine, it's like mid-tier, I guess. Jesus Christ, this is like mid, these games. But yeah, here we go, guys. Definite list, man. Definitely list, right? Yeah, but really seriously, Saga Frontier 2, Vagrant story, hard. And, to be fair, guys, next video, if I go down deep in rabbit hole, right? I'm gonna say that, for example, Suikoden 2 is right here. Is better than FF7, okay? I'm calling it, so trust me, yeah. If I make a full JRPG list, PlayStation 1, then I need SSS tier, right? The super even better games. Can I really compare them, right? Because that's kind of what I mean. I feel it's like a cut off here somewhere between FF7 and Mission 3, where I feel like, okay, FF9, great game, but this is as good as Suikoden. I don't think so. I need to make a little bit shift like that, if I include other companies games too, right? But yeah, definitely is right. Saga Frontier 2, I think it's the best SquareSoft game. Mission 1, regular story. Mission 3, my god, the game is so good. Sorting in the best storyline. Parasite Eve, Chrono Cross. F8, I hate it. Legend of Mana, hate it even more. This point in my life, then it goes to trash fighting game. But like I said, it's just a bad fight. It's a really bad fighting game. It's just a Cloud in it. It's a bad fighting game, right? It could have been a good fighting game with Cloud in it, but no, it's a terrible fighting game with Cloud in it. Like, it's terrible. This game is like unplayable, okay? It's like 15 years too early. And then it's like meh, beat them up, meh, smup game, somewhat decent Chocobo games in the middle there. But here we go, guys. The definite list of SquareSoft video games. The video, guys, if you like to subscribe, like by that. What's your favorite games? And like I said, right, I could obviously make an even much longer video reviewing all of the other companies, like Breath of Fire, Suikoden, and so on, right? Wild Arms, of course. And yeah, that's even better, right? Because certainly Square was the PlayStation 1 game's defining moment. And they made so many good games, right? But so many S-tier games, the one. and A tier. But there are some other guys like Wild Arms. It's also easily like a 10 out of 10 game, amazing game. So it's there's a bunch of games there. And PlayStation 1 is always gonna be like the JRPG super console, right? Because it has like 10 plus and 10 out of 10 games in one genre. So it's really, really amazing. But yeah, if it's like that, please, please like, but share videos, alright. If the video gets a lot of likes or whatnot, then of course I make the other video, and then I also really move on. I want to move on eventually, right? Start looking at PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, right? Super Nintendo. I was thinking we're gonna go like that, and I feel it's pointless to look at it as all of them. One thing I say lastly, one is I also like doing it like this, right? Because I am looking at it per game now, per console, right? Obviously, yes, but I mean, I think it's better because it's more fat, right? If you're gonna compare like FF7 to FF16 or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, the graphics and so on, right? It is a much, I think, fair comparison looking at a game as its own console, right? Okay, so we can compare FF7 to Vagrant Story, both released from the same console, same graphical level, fidelity, whatever, interior release. That is much fairer, right? For its own time, right? And also, in my eyes, when I make the videos, I can also say that, well, this game was impactful because it had a new combo system. This game was interesting because it introduced this new blah blah thing, right? Which historically is more important, right? So, yeah, I prefer going like this, right? SNES, of course, same thing there. You can say, this was the first game they had this kind of talent tree or whatever, right? So, I think it's more interesting. But, it would be fun one day to do like a super long video, like go over all the games. But a video would take like 10 hours. It's all the games, it's all the thing. It's like a ridiculous list. But I feel like eventually, right, the more videos I make of this, eventually we get that super ultimate list of all the games. Because when I make this list here, now I have it in my head like, okay, this is kind of how it looks. Then I can make the next video and compare and so on, right? And sometimes, honestly, I have a mind. People say, no, I do change my mind, right? The one thing to do with the thing is that I think about it, I reminisce, right? And I analyze. One thing, my hobby is, must sound weird, but one of my hobbies, guys, is to actually read old magazines, right? So I'm not a hoarder, but I still keep most of my game reviews for different game magazines. And it's not because I'm a hoarder, no. It was actually read them, okay? So once a year, I actually go over and read reviews of old magazines because I want to look at why were they popular, right? So I want to think, why did they review this game and give it like a 10 out of 10, like 20 years ago? Why, Oh, there was this mechanic, okay? That's very popular back in those days. How can I make the mechanic work today, right? So I actually do read old magazines, look at old news sites and so on for video games and other applications, but the video games, I still do that every now and then, and it's interesting, right? To kind of get into the mindset of like early 90s or early whatever, right? And think about, okay, what is good, right? And for me, of course, I never care about graphics, right? So I care about the mechanics, right? What was interesting, what these things were. So I like doing that. So actually, yeah, I still have like, I don't know, I'd say a few thousand magazines probably. But I'm not a hoard. I just have like them all stacked up in like a room of just like all the magazines, and they're all, and I can pick them up per year, right? So this is like super organized. And I have them like per year, and I can go and read them. And then I usually have the best ones at one pile. It's the fantasy games and these games, so on. So I can go in there and look at them. And I do that every now and then to kind of, analyze different stuff, different mechanics, so on, right? And I think that there's something people forget, right? To make good games, you can use, mechanics, right? You don't need good graphics or whatnot. What works still works, to speak, right? But anyway, subscribe and have a great day.